My four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Martin Luther King Jr. is a man that is universally praised as one of the greatest heroes of the 20th century. Every year on the third Monday in January, a national holiday is celebrated in his honor. But the truth is that Martin Luther King Jr. was a wicked false prophet, a sexual pervert, and a communist tool. This film is not about race. God has made all nations of the earth of one blood. First, we must admit that the evidence for the tenability of this doctrine is too shallow to convince any objective thinker. To begin with, the earliest written documents in the New Testament make no mention of the virgin birth. The effort to justify this doctrine on the grounds that it was predicted by the prophet Isaiah is immediately eliminated. For all New Testament scholars agree that the word virgin is not found in the Hebrew original, but only in the Greek text, which is a mistranslation of the Hebrew word for young women. The church called Jesus divine because they had found God in him. They could only identify him with the highest and best in the universe. It was this great experience with the historical Jesus that led the early Christians to see him as the divine Son of God. At the age of 13, I shocked my Sunday school class by denying the bodily resurrection of Jesus. From the age of 13 on, doubts began to spring forth unrelentingly. The early Christians had lived with Jesus. They had been captivated by the magnetic power of his personality. This basic experience led to the faith that he could never die. And so when the pre-scientific thought pattern of the first century, this inner faith took outward form. That Christianity did copy and borrow from Mithraism cannot be denied. But it was generally a natural and unconscious process rather than a deliberate plan of action. It was subject to the same influences from the environment as were the other cults. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. Having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way, and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam the son of Bosor, who loveth the wages of unrighteousness. Likewise also these filthy dreamers, defile the flesh, despise dominion, and speak evil of dignities. Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of Corey. These are spots in your feast of charity, when they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear. Clouds they are without water, carried about of winds, trees whose fruit withereth, without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots, raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame, wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. I've heard what the prophets said, that prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed.
I have a dream today.
How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? Yea, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart. Behold, I am against them that prophesy false dreams, saith the Lord, and do tell them, and cause my people to err by their lies, and by their lightness. Yet I sent them not, nor commanded them. Therefore they shall not profit this people at all, saith the Lord.
50 years ago this week, in November 1964, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover told a group of reporters on the record that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was, quote, the most notorious liar in the country and a danger to the American way of life. And their attempts to discredit King went far beyond just calling him a liar. The FBI placed bugs in King's hotel room, tapped his phones, bugged his apartment in Atlanta. Today, the New York Times Magazine published, for the very first time, a full, unredacted letter sent to King in 1964, which until now has only been available to the public with significant redactions. It's an utterly shocking document. The letter accuses King of being, quote, a filthy, abnormal animal who's engaged in sexual orgies at odds with his claims to morality, with dirty, evil companions, male and female, giving expression with you to your hideous abnormalities. The truth is that it was really written by one of J. Edgar Hoover's own top men, William Sullivan, the head of the FBI's intelligence operations, who, according to Tim Weiner's History of the FBI, had a package of the King's sex tapes prepared by the FBI's lab technicians, wrote the accompanying poison pen letter, and sent both to King's home. Sullivan's letter ends with what seems like a call for King to kill himself. "King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is," says the letter ominously. "There is but one way out for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation." How did you find this thing?
I really just happened upon it. So the letter itself has been known for about 40 years at this point, but we've only seen it in these sort of redacted versions. And I was going through a new set of Hoover's official and confidential files, which were really the secret files that he kept in his office. They had been reprocessed. They had finally been turned over to the National Archives, and I was amazed to see this letter there finally with all of the redactions removed.
Civil rights activist Bayard Rustin served as King's main advisor and mentor in the late 1950s. He had joined the Young Communist League in 1936 and continued working with the Communist Party USA until the early 1940s. Following directions from the Soviet Union, the Communist Party USA and its members were active in the civil rights movement for African Americans. Following Stalin's theory of nationalism, the Communist Party USA, or CPUSA, once favored the creation of a separate nation for blacks to be located in the south of the United States. However, after 1941, when Germany invaded the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin ordered the CPUSA to abandon civil rights work and focus on getting the U.S. to enter World War II. Disillusioned, Rustin began working with members of the Socialist Party instead. Rustin was a homosexual who was arrested in Pasadena in 1953 for committing sodomy in a car with two other men. He pleaded guilty to the crime of sex perversion and served 60 days in jail as a punishment. Another of King's most trusted advisors was a Jewish New York lawyer named Stanley Levison, who was a leader of the Communist Party USA in the 1950s. Yet another of King's advisors and director of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference was Jack Odell. During the 1950s, Jack Odell was a member of the Communist Party USA. Both President John F. Kennedy and Attorney General Robert Kennedy tried to persuade Martin Luther King to separate himself from the known communists in his organization, but he would not heed the warning.
Dexter King arrived at this Nashville prison to meet the man serving time for the death of his father, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Long anticipated visit.
The youngest son wanted to look into the eyes of a terminally ill James Earl Ray and ask one question in particular.
Did you kill my father?
No, I didn't know.
And then King offered this.
I believe you, and my family believes you.
Dexter King, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Take me back to the moment when you reached out and shook James Earl Ray's hand. What was that like?
It was very moving, a feeling of relief to finally meet face to face with the man who has been accused, but has since, from the beginning, said he was innocent. I continue to hear that he confessed, and in fact, he didn't confess. He pled guilty, which is different, technically speaking.
So when you asked him, did you kill my father, in no uncertain terms, and he said, no, I did not, why do you believe him?
Well, I believe him because there's so much new evidence that has been presented to me and my family vis-a-vis his attorney, Bill Pepper. Also, the fact of the matter is, he has said from the beginning he was innocent. I asked him why he pled guilty. He said basically his attorney at the time cut a deal behind the scenes with the district attorney, and unbeknownst to him, he was forfeiting his rights to a trial. As soon as he found that out, 3 days later, he recanted and has since been trying to get a trial.
1 week after the meeting, on the eve of the 29th anniversary of the assassination, today's Matt Lauer spoke with Pulitzer Prize-winning King biographer David Garrow.
You said that the scene of James Earl Ray and Dexter King shaking hands was, quote, sad and surreal. Why?
Yes, Matt.
I think it's very sad that the King family and the King children are so uninformed of the history that they could be open to believing that Mr. Ray was not involved in Dr. King's assassination.
All right, hang on for 1 second, because joining us now is Dexter King. Dexter, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Mr. Garrow seems to think that you and your family members are being duped by James Earl Ray and his attorneys. What's your reaction?
Well, I am very disturbed by his comments that anyone in this day and age of victims' rights would suggest that it is wrong for a family to question who killed their loved one. The fact of the matter is, I guess I'm really not surprised, because Mr. Garrow, for whatever reason, is doing his job, and frankly, he is an agent for those forces of suppression who do not want this truth to come forward.
President Reagan signed into law a bill today creating a national holiday honoring Martin Luther King. ABC's Sam Donaldson was at the White House.
The White House staged an impressive ceremony today, the President and Dr. King's widow walking into the Rose Garden together in an effort to spruce up Mr. Reagan's tattered civil rights image. The President signed the bill, which he had so strongly opposed, making Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a national holiday. When it was over, Mrs. King said it had been a great day, and the President's words were fitting. The Reverend Jesse Jackson, who's running for president, said it was not a day for him to criticize anyone.
And no marvel, Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. And there shall be one fold and one shepherd. For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus.